Hi everyone, happy Friday. So I am sorry, this is going to be another video about AI, but it's really specific because there's a High Court case underway that could potentially rethink about how we look at the responsibility for AI generated content in the UK. So the case involves a Labour politician involved in activism around the protection of rights of young women and girls that has sued Grok on the basis that Grok was used to generate harmful images of her without her consent, sexualized images, and the same obviously happened to a very wide number of other women and girls. But I think, yeah, that's important, but what really makes this important is the legal question at the heart of this, around which these other issues turn. The case is brought on the basis of misuse of private information and data protection law as well, breach of data protection law. When AI causes harm, who's responsible? So under the UK law, there are, as you'd think, strong protections in terms of privacy and personal data. Misuse of private information in particular covers, invasions of privacy. The Data Protection Act, UK GDPR, applies whenever personal data, in this case an image, is processed, including by AI systems. And historically, platforms have 4 years, including Twitter in particular, or X, whatever you want to describe it as, that they're just intermediaries. That's been the same argument in the US as well by Facebook and others. They're just tools by other people. However, generative AI changes that a little bit because it's not just the users that create that content from scratch, so it's their problem, it's also the system itself. So this case, I think, is going to test whether or not an AI platform can be treated a bit more like a publisher or a product designer rather than just a passive host that's protected by any number of legal protections. If the court does rule in favour of the claimant, then it may well mean that we could see a bit of a change, that companies may be now responsible for some kind of foreseeable misuse of their tools, especially where safeguards were missing. There's this idea that we might now need to build in safety by design. And certainly there is a regulation of social media through the Online Safety Act, but not specifically dealing with this, although there are criminal offences that deal with sexualised images, at least made by individuals, and certainly revenge porn. But what I think this means for the public, it's an issue of accountability. It's an attempt through the courts to make sure that the law keeps pace with tech, which has always been a challenge. And where we don't have AI regulation in the UK, or certainly regulation of the algorithm, it's judges that are stepping in to bridge that gap. And certainly for organisations, creative businesses, their clients using AI, the message is absolutely clear in that AI outputs aren't risk-free. From clients instructing agencies, they know that already, which is why they will more than likely still be saying to their providers, to their agencies, to their creative teams, you create something for us and it's your problem. If it ever turns out that it creates a legal liability for us, then you'll indemnify us for that. This might change that conversation. This might maybe see a little bit of a rebalancing of that risk over time, but certainly some kind of human oversight, a clear policy, strong contracts are no longer nice to have, they're absolutely essential. So whatever the outcome, the arguments in this case are going to be fascinating. It could mark a real turning point, and more importantly, could improve the well-being and personal safety of an awful lot of people who are finding themselves on the wrong end of this. And it's just proof that AI isn't operating in a legal vacuum, and responsibility doesn't disappear just because tech is involved in that process. So we at Glaziers will be keeping a very careful eye on this. I'm sure a lot of other people in the creative sector will as well. And when we've got something to tell you about it, we'll be sure to do so.